Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 291 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to see you. I hope you're having a great week. Gonna be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. Really excited about that. Let's get started. Let me start by sharing my screen. Give me a quick sec here. And show the agenda. Hey, yeah, it's June 8th. 2022, episode 291, and a reminder, I start every episode like this. No plan survives breakfast. I kind of know what I want to do today. I kind of know how the stream, like what's on the to-do list. I have a thing I want to do, but I don't know how it's going to go. I actually, I haven't done any sort of pre-planning beyond knowing what it is that I would like to do. And so we might get stuck, rabbit hole, sideline, things might go wrong, stream might go down, all sorts of things might happen. And that's okay, because you get to hopefully watch me get into and out of trouble, and that's half the fun. So we're capturing software development in the raw. I'm back in the Toronto office today. That feels very nice. I'm starting to get more and more used to the setup here. I don't know if is that like a little artifact from my green screen? I'll just hide that. Or maybe that's just some splits on my monitor. I can't tell. What are we doing today? Well, first of all, I want to quickly shout out that the agenda that we're looking at, right here in front of us with all these handy dandy links, is available to you. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the details section. If you're... I think that's somewhere on the left side of the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be on the video description down below. And if you're watching this on Twitch, then it should be in the Twitch chat right now. Now, I actually had to restart the bridge, the chat bridge. I actually haven't tested it. So if someone wouldn't mind confirming if they're watching on Twitch whether or not this worked, whether or not that came through, do let me know. I'm also curious about why this only just says test here, because it really shouldn't just say test. So what's going on there? Do I need to kick this a little bit? Is that going to do it? There we go. Just had to kick it a little bit. Smurf D says, huh? Great. I think that means that the agenda came through. So that's good. Thanks, Smurf D. Okay, and if you're watching this on diode.zone, because I'm also, this is a quick shout out to the Fediverse, diode.zone. I'm broadcasting on diode.zone. If that, if you want to check out a YouTube or Vimeo or alternative Fediverse friendly, sort of hackery YouTube video platform, diode.zone is where I'm also streaming right now. You can see I'm streaming right there. 0 viewers. Check it out. This is using PeerTube, which one of the nice things or interesting things about PeerTube, I think it's a neat feature, is that when you're watching a video via WebRTC, you're also torrenting the video, the packets to other viewers. So it reduces the load on the server by sort of distributing the load of sending packets to the people who are watching the video. That means that the more popular a video is, the more people sort of torrenting, and then you're helping each other out, which I think is pretty cool. So diode.zone, check it out. Is that now? Yeah, hey, I just added it to the agenda. I should probably make that a link. All right. So what do I want to work on today? Well, we had done some work a couple of weeks ago. I think it was back on May 11th, or maybe it was even further back. I decided May 4th to tackle this small bug to update the zoom controls in Firefox whenever you are in the default zoom mode. So let me show you what I mean. I actually need to do an artifact build, so let's do that real quick. And maybe I'll show you in my current build of Firefox Nightly that I have here. Episode 289 on Twitch. Whoops, I accidentally forgot to update the title of the episode on Twitch. Let me do that real quick. I forgot to do that today. My apologies. Someone just mentioned that, so let me just do that real quick. Creator dashboard. How does this work? and then I say edit stream info, and then I say episode 291. Clearly, I haven't been doing that for a while. So I have now updated the stream title. Thank you very much, Okris, for letting me know. That's why we have the internet. So back in episode 288, we noticed that there was like a small bug. This bug was filed like way back in the day. If you look at the date of the first filing, I can tell just by looking at the bug number. This was probably filed like 7 years ago. Oh, 11 years ago. So back, like I wasn't even working at Mozilla, or I was still in school. Like this is a while back. And, you know, it's an old, long-standing kind of glitch. And the way it works is we've got these different zoom levels. I'm actually zoomed in about 133%. It says so here in my URL bar. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. It's a very handy feature. We actually have zoom controls here in the menu bar. And what's interesting is whenever you are at the actual size, we keep the actual size item enabled, despite the fact that it doesn't do anything anymore. And the same goes for like if you zoom in all the way, because there's like a 500% limit. Wow, that's a big zoom. We still have zoom in enabled, even though you can't do it anymore. Same with the buttons over here. Like it's enabled, even though it doesn't do anything. So this about a month ago, whenever I first worked on this, I had written a patch, and the way the patch worked was it would update the commands using what's called the command pattern, where the we have these Zool nodes in each window that represent like a particular command. In particular, like we have a zoom in command, a zoom out command, and a zoom reset command. And we can, if you disable the command, that disables all of the things that invoke that command, like menu items or buttons, which is a really nice way of sort of centralizing the logic. You put the logic for whether or not the command can be used, if it's disabled, if it's hidden, and you talk to the command, and then all of the other things we have this nice indirection where things invoke that command but also react to changes to that command state. And so that's what we did. We made it so that we would disable the command in the event that we're zoomed in or we're zoomed all the way out. We would disable the appropriate commands. And there was one for the full zoom toggle. Oh, I guess this was like the this is the one that was already there. This is doing, instead of working with the menu item directly, we're also updating the command here. So we're just updating some old code, making this thing use the command pattern. Yeah, we're not using update menu anymore. We're having it update commands over here. I guess I had made some kind of conscious decision about that when we update the Zoom UI, which was working. And then I think we were, I don't actually remember where we got to at the end of the video. So that's one of the things I need to work out, is figure out what's left to do. I think I remember one thing at least, but we might have to like flip back and try and watch the video and see where I got to. So this is the patch. It's from a ways back. I'm going to start by rebasing onto tip. So here, speaking of zoom, let me zoom in the font here of my terminal so you can see what I'm doing. Whoops, that's an annoying Mac OS bug. Okay, we're going to rebase that revision onto tip. Hopefully that applies relatively cleanly. And it did. And so whenever you rebase, it doesn't automatically switch you to that revision, at least not without like further flags or invocation, which I don't normally use. So now I'll just update to the tip. I will build, and then we can test this patch out and make sure it still fixes things. Oh, yeah. I had a to-do list. That's the thing. So I had like this... oh, and this bug is now closed. I can move this into the closed bugs section. Fix the zoom text only toggle, write tests, and don't style the zoom reset button with disabled text in the app menu. I'll explain what that means in a second. Okay, let's run and check this out. So this is basically rehashing the very end of the video, where we had gotten to. So here's our nightly. Hooray! Let's go to some web page like Jim Carrey cartoons. Now I'm at like the default zoom level, and so one of the things I want to fix is when you're at the default zoom level, this is normally the zoom reset button, and by virtue of disabling the command, we have disabled this button, and that means that the text is disabled, which means that it's kind of hard to see as sort of a this. There are two functions to this label, which is like it's the reset button, but it's also like the zoom level indicator, and we don't ever really want it to be unreadable, even though it makes sense to like disable resetting it whenever you are all the at 100%. See how it becomes like undisabled, we come to 100, becomes disabled. So like if I zoom in all the way, yep, that's good, we've disabled this button. We zoom out, that's disabled. If we reset, that becomes disabled. And that's true as well for the menu items. If I zoom in all the way at 500% here, then the zoom level, I can't zoom in anymore. If I go to actual size, I go zoom, actual size is disabled. If I zoom out all the way, that's disabled. This is good. This is what we want. So what was the first checkpoint? Fix the zoom text only toggle. I don't remember what that does. I think so. There's a mode where like when you zoom, you just change the font size. So that appears to still that does the job. That appears to work, and still. The commands are disabled and whatnot. So I actually think that work is done. We should rewatch the video just to double check, but I think that work is done. Zoom text only. Okay, so let's quickly watch the video. So that was episode 200, and I don't want to watch the whole episode, obviously. That would be very meta and kind of annoying. I'm just kind of hoping to flip through Joy of Coding 288. Where's the video? You know what we should do? We should go to the episode guide. Hey, this is a quick plug for the episode guide. You should check it out. So if we pull this up on air, uh-oh. Why is that link broken? Oh no. Oh no, are all these bit.ly links broken? Oh no. I might have to look into that. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll follow up with our Airmo people after this. So I have to find episode 288. I'm trying not to get too distracted by the fact that all those links are broken. Smurfd says Rutro. That's not your fault, Smurfd. You did the right thing. Like, you're linking to the right stuff. Let's go to YouTube. Let's check the playlist. Episode 288 is right here. Okay. Now, I'm just going to mute this because I don't want to hear myself, but I kind of want to flip through and see where I added. I'm going to go look through the thumbnails and seeing where I'm like writing notes, because I want to see when I wrote down that we want to fix the zoom text only thing. So where did I take notes when I had Joplin in the foreground? Ooh, scrub, scrub, scrub. We're messing around. When did I have Joplin in the foreground? Joplin was here. Okay, here we go. So I'm talking about it. So let's unmute and let's listen. So it's a little meta here.
Bug. Yeah, you're right. I didn't. Let's call it there. I'll create a commit. What's the bug number here? So what I'll do, text only zoom still needs to be tested. That's true. I didn't really do much testing there. I'm gonna take this and text only. Yeah, you're right. I didn't fix that part. So I'm going to write that down.
So it looked like just there, disabling the. Yeah, this is a good reason to stream. Yeah, Smurf D, you're absolutely right. Like, this is one of the reasons. You all get to sort of help, and these videos help to be my collective memory. My memory is not very good, so you all get to help me. So thank you for that. So the issue seemed to be that whenever you enabled zoom style, we were on the new tab page, and then I like zoomed a bunch in, and then zoomed a bunch out, and then I reset, and then I tried to disable zoom text only, and then what happened? Yeah, it stuck around. So what's up with that? That's broken. So, and that I don't think is the case over here. Like if I zoom text only, zoom in, zoom out, reset, is that also the case if I'm over here? Zoom text only, disable. Oh, it is. Okay, that's the case everywhere. So let's write that down real quick before we forget. Fix the zoom text only. So steps to reproduce. This is how I'll do this. Go to the native menu. What is it? View? What is it? Edit? No, it's view, zoom, native menu, view, zoom, and enable zoom text only. Zoom the current page in and out. I don't even know. I'm not sure this is actually necessary to replicate the bug. And then try to disable zoom text only. Expected results, zoom text only should be then disabled via the menu. Actual result, zoom text only does not get disabled. Okay. So if you've never seen this format before, this is a common format. Steps to reproduce. This is what you do. This is the procedure to see the bug. This is what we expect, and this is what actually occurs. STR stands for steps to reproduce. ER is expected results. AR is actual results. Oh, I see some traffic here. It was a Bitly error, not Air Mozilla. Okay, well, maybe Bitly. I mean, I hope it's a Bitly error and that will kind of get sorted out. Maybe it's the sort of thing that will be fixed without my having to intervene. It'll just kind of fix itself. That'd be really nice. It's also possible because Bitly is a URL shortener. It's possible that we just never registered these short links. That's possible. In which case, it's not a Bitly problem. It'd be the infrastructure that sets up the short links, which is an Air Mozilla problem. So I'll have to look into that. Guess this is a good reason to stream? Yeah, because you don't need to remember. We just watch the video for sure. Modari asks, hey Mike, would you recommend to start to learn C++ as a beginner? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Modari. I actually wouldn't recommend starting with C++. What would I recommend? Starting as a very beginner. If you're starting programming as a very beginner, C++ has a lot of what we call in the industry foot guns, lots of things that make it easy for you to accidentally. Well, first of all, it's quite cryptic. Finding documentation for things can be quite hard. The documentation isn't amazing. The various idiosyncrasies of the language that has kind of evolved organically over time are strange. I mean, sure, lots of applications are written in C++ and you can study them. That's a good idea. But I don't know if I'd start to learn programming using C++. Like if I was to work with someone who wanted to learn programming and wanted to start from scratch, I would start with something that exists, that they don't have to worry necessarily about a compiler, that they can just kind of like learn the basics about control flow and like what a program looks like. So even something like JavaScript in the browser, where you can learn about things like conditions and variables, if then else loops. You can run that sort of JavaScript in just like a playground in the browser to like learn the basics, the foundations of programming, and then you can build up from there. And then once you have the sense of like control flow, variables, loops, a lot of those basics, then it might be worth going away from JavaScript and trying something very, very different. And that's when you might want to try something like C or Rust. In fact, maybe I should advocate for Rust instead of C, because one of the nice things about Rust is that the error messages that you get are usually a lot more helpful. Whenever you're like getting compiler errors, the Rust compiler's error messages are like really good, and it will tell you like, hey, the problem is here, and here are some recommendations, and here's links to documentation. Like, it's very good stuff. And I'm not saying that Rust is an easy language to learn, but there are tons of free online resources for learning Rust. And one of the nice things about Rust is that it is like performance-wise comparable to C and C++, I'd say. And it's very forward-thinking. Rust has a lot of nice things about it that C and C++ don't have, like primitives for doing safe concurrency. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, that's okay. You'll get there. But Rust is a really nice systems language. If you want to get into like systems programming, it's a really nice systems language for people who don't necessarily come in with a systems background, because it prevents you from making a lot of mistakes that are kind of inherent to those languages, and it makes it so that you don't have to worry about certain things. The compiler will worry about it for you, and that's a really nice property. And if Rust is interesting for you, I would say the Rust book, which is free here, this is it. This is the Rust book. Getting started, the Rust book. I'll put that in the chat. The Rust book. I know the people who have contributed to this book. I know the people who contributed to the language. It's a great language. So I'm going to put that in the agenda here as well. Languages to learn languages for first learning to program. I'm going to say JavaScript, Rust. Rust. For JavaScript, you can read the MDN. If you go to developer.mozilla.org, you can look at learning JavaScript. This is a good resource. And then the other one you might try is Python. Python's an interesting scripting language. And the only reason I don't recommend Python right out the gate, Python's great. Very, very powerful language, good language, readable language, I find. The reason I suggest starting with JavaScript is because chances are you already have a web browser, meaning you already have a thing that interprets JavaScript, meaning you don't have to install a bunch of things. Like with Rust and Python, you actually have to go and get the Rust compiler. You have to go and get the Python interpreter. You have to go and get stuff. And with JavaScript, you can learn the basics without having to like do any of that. You just do stuff in your browser in the console, or there are lots of like little playgrounds like CodePen. You can just like do stuff in here. You could just like learn things like const my variable equals true if my variable alert hello, else alert what? and then you can run that. It'll just run it. I guess it runs it by automatically. That's maybe the drawback of using something like CodePen if you're doing learning. It's just gonna run it automatically. But then you can like see what happens if you say false. Then what happens? What? You know, you can learn about variables and flow control and loops and stuff with CodePen, or JSBin is another classic. This is one I like to use, JSBin. You don't have to worry about HTML. You turn that part off. Just do the JavaScript part. You can do that exact same thing. Const my var equals true if my var alert test. You can this one you click a button to run it, and that's kind of nice. You can learn the basics that way. But Python's nice too. And if you already have, it sounds like I see some chat here. Thank you. I have some experience in HTML, CSS now. That's good. And some in Python. Fantastic. So the good news is that if you have some foundations in Python, I mean, languages kind of build on top of one another. Once you learn variables and control flow and loops and whatnot, a lot of the basics, a lot of that skill and a lot of those concepts are transferable. That's not to say that every language looks the same or behaves the same. Some are vastly different from one another, but a lot of the basics will transfer and will make it easier to learn other languages. It's kind of like learning a spoken language, where the more languages you pick up, generally, the easier it is to pick up other languages. So for example, if you happen to know French, I think it's relatively, or English, I think learning German is relatively is easier if you happen to know like French and English already. Like, it's just you can apply some of what you already know about other languages to pick things up faster. I thought about sticking to Python and kind of master it and then move on to another language. I want to learn a language that helps me to really understand coding and programming. My problem with a lot of YouTube tutorials is that they show what they code and not why, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're not going deep and explaining why. I do recommend, if you want to go deep, if you want to understand like fundamentals of like why a thing's happening, because I think a lot of programming tutorials want to get you to the point where something satisfying has occurred, like, and that's the box. You've made a game, and you're not sure like, well, what were these weird incantations that I used to create the game? Like, I don't understand. If you start with something like the Rust book, it's not gonna have like a real shiny, like, you're not going to necessarily build a game right out the gate. It's going to take you through things like Hello World, you know, nothing super fancy, but at least it will explain what's happening and why. And it's going to go through some really interesting concepts that I think are going to be useful for you in other languages. Things like ownership, pass by value, pass by reference, you know, pointers, that sort of thing. In Rust, in C and C++, pointers and references and values are a nice way of like passing information around between scopes efficiently, maybe, but it's also a great way of you know, accidentally blowing your foot off, or having like undefined behavior in certain conditions, or having data races. And so Rust really kind of like enforces good rules to make those sorts of things a lot harder to hit. I think actually impossible to hit those sorts of bugs. So I highly recommend the Rust book. I'm also reading a Rust book because I'm learning Rust too, actually. And I'm reading this book called, it's like you make a dungeon crawler, Rust dungeon crawler book. Hands on Rust. So I picked up this book. It was $27.95 USD. You can maybe even get it in a library. But what's interesting about this book that I've been reading is not only does it go through like the basics like this and control flow and all that stuff and Rust primitives, but it also, as you're doing it, you're building something. Like one of the first things that you build is like a Flappy Bird clone, but he goes into why, which is really nice. So, and then you end up building like a dungeon crawler, which I haven't gotten to yet. So this might be an interesting resource for you. I am not sponsored by this person, but I am enjoying their book. I want to add a sub-bullet here. Yeah, hands on Rust. There you go. Whoops, did I just... What do I do there? Save. So hopefully that was helpful, Madari. Right. It would be nice to see the process of looking at the docs. Otherwise, programming is made to seem like a memory game. Fari writes, this is also a place where OSS shines. Find a friendly project, find a good first bug, and learn the language used in the project. Yeah, that's a great point. Fari brings a great point up. Thank you for writing that. Like, you don't necessarily have to have, like, a mastery of Python, for example, to contribute to a Python project. If you can kind of read it and kind of get a sense of it, you can learn on the job by contributing to an open source project and have like maintainers review your code and show you actually, okay, here's a different way of doing it. Here's another way. Here's some examples to look at. Because the more you read, generally, it's kind of like, again, learning a language. The more you read, the better you can write. And you know, it's a written language. You don't speak Python. You don't speak Rust. You write it and you read it. And so the more you read, generally, the better you write. And if you watch this stream at all, you may have noticed a pattern. Because I spend most of my time reading code rather than writing code. And that's not because I'm trying to learn it. Well, it is because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to understand what's happening. And that's a very valuable skill. Like, you need to learn how to, especially when you're contributing to a project that is very large, like Firefox and Gecko, very large, complicated code base, and it's not all in everybody's heads. It's not a very simple thing that's in one person's head. You have to, like, read the code and try and understand what it's doing. And so that's a valuable muscle to build up. And code is understandable. Like, it's not magic. There's just a lot of abstraction in the way usually. And so you have to, like, learn how to peel back the abstraction. Like, I'm calling into this function. What does that function do? Well, let's find the source code to it. Okay, what is it doing? Okay, this, then this. And then it calls into this function. What does that function do? Okay, it calls into this class. It creates one of these. And you just kind of have to, you can go down this little bit of a rabbit hole. And that can be a dangerous rabbit hole because you might end up, you're at such a deep level that you're like learning how the atoms of the universe work and how like electron flow is happening through your processor. And don't go that deep, but like you can satisfy your own curiosity. I want to emphasize the general idea though, that the code is understandable. It's not magic, and it's not wizardry, and it's not something that only some people can understand. It's understandable if you learn the language, you can read it, you read the instructions, and you follow the pointers, you can figure it out. You can figure it out. All right, so where were we? That was a nice diversion, but let's see if we can fix this bug with the zoom level. Someone wrote that they actually don't think that changing the zoom level is necessary in order to recreate the bug, and I think they're right. Like, if I create a new window and I just like enable zoom text only and then try and disable it, I'll bet you, yeah. Oh, no, it does go away. So maybe we do actually have to change the zoom level. Oh. So I change the zoom level, and then I try and remove that, and then it worked. What? If I zoom out. See, now it's working. What's going on here? Let's close this. Let's go back here. What's going on? So I like zoom out, and I want to say like disable zoom text only, and now it's working. What the heck? All right, let's start over. I'm restarting the browser. You're welcome, Odari. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to start by disabling zoom text only. Oh, see, now it won't do it. What is going on here? So let's see if we can sort of trace what's happening. So this menu item, zoom text only, I can't exactly remember what it's wired to, but let's find out. Zoom text only. That's going to be this is the key for the string. That's how I generally do it, is I find the string, I find the key for the string, and then I see where the key is used, and that will give me the menu item, and from there I can see what it's connected to. So it's connected to this command, full zoom toggle. I see. So this command, full zoom toggle, I'm trying to update it. So let's find this command. let's open up a... Oh, I already have the toolbox open. So in this window, we can actually get the command node, which is going to have the same ID as the command, that thing that this points to. We're going to get the command element. And it looks like the checked attribute is set to true. We can also get this like menu item. And we see that its checked attribute is set to true. And I am going to now try and change that. The checked attribute has been removed. Even though there's still a check there. Oh, now the checked attribute is back because I opened it. Let me... So I'll do that. The checked attribute has been removed. Now let's look at the command. Here, the checked attribute is still true. So even though we removed the attribute from here, it didn't actually remove it from the command. I wonder if that's because we have to update... Do we have to, like, go update commands? How does update commands work? Normally this stuff happens, like, automatically, but... places you tell it... I guess you give it a string. I'll just say like the zoom. Okay. And now if I like pull in, that's still got checked equals true, and the menu item does not have the checkbox. So like, why isn't this toggle having its checked attribute removed? Does it need to somehow observe the checked? Let's do it the other way around, actually. Like if I reopen the menu item, the checked attribute is back. Now what if I remove the checked attribute from... Oh, hold on a second. One of the things I remember we're doing in this patch is down here we update commands, and the command that we were updating, full zoom toggle here, I wonder if we're somehow, are we calling into this and we're somehow setting the update commands? Let's find out. I'm going to set a breakpoint in browser full zoom. Toolbox is busted. Gonna reopen it. Browser zoom, full zoom. Okay, let's update commands. So, whoops, didn't mean to click that. All right, so I'm gonna put this here, and then I'm gonna go up to the menu. Hang on, let's shrink this window. And I'm gonna go up here and say zoom text only. So I don't enter here. I never enter here, so this is not the problem. Are there... Is this a thing that I've somehow broken with the patch? Like, because before what we were doing is we were updating... Yeah, we were updating the menu here. Update menu. We were saying, hey, set the checked attribute to be whether or not Zoom Manager is using full zoom, and I decided, hey, you know what? Instead, we'll use the command pattern. Because I happen to know that this thing, like we can monitor command full zoom toggle. I think it might be that I need to explicitly wire that checked state in here. I didn't think I did, but maybe I do. Observes. I think there's like an observes thing that you can use in your commands. Let me open up the browser sets. Observes. Or checked. Like, how do we... Zool command checked. Observes element view full screen checked. Do we have observes in here? Yeah. Like, I wonder if we need to do that. It seems a bit strange because I thought this was like automatic, but maybe it isn't. In which case, that's a shame. But I can wire it up on command. I can say, hey, this command observes. Well, no, because I don't want it to observe the menu item. I want it to be agnostic of the menu item. I want the menu item to know to update the checked state of this. So, like, are there other menu items that work properly? I wonder if, like, work offline might be one, because that's a checkbox one. Starts, goes away. Does work offline use the same pattern? Because maybe I'm just doing this wrong. Go offline. Yeah, it's using a command. Type checkbox, command, toggle offline status. And here, UI element. Update offline UI happens. The UI element happens to be the command. We'll set checked is true or false. So it looks like that actually happens. Offline UI happens whenever we toggle the offline status. And when the offline status changes, that's when we update it again. Okay. Smurfdy asks if it's because I'm on the start page. I was seeing this over here too, I thought. And yet, here it is. Now it's working. Is it because I'm on the start page? And then I go over here. Maybe it is because I'm on the start page. Why would that matter? Or maybe it's because the zoom level is reset. Yeah, because the zoom level is reset. So if you were at the default zoom level, be at the default zoom level. That seems to be the factor here. Large, pref change, site specific. Content pref changed. Update commands. When does that occur? I think we made it happen inside of full zoom here. Update zoom UI inside of zoom UI. So we notice a change. I think what we need to do here basically is make it so that if the no, it doesn't make any sense. Why isn't the command being invoked? That's what that's the real issue here, is the command isn't being invoked. Like whenever you choose to change the checked level, checked state, what are we doing? Command checked false. Full zoom toggle. Is this command not running? Command full zoom toggle. What is that command? Toggle zoom. Toggle zoom. Zoom manager. Where's the zoom manager? View zoom overlay. Sets the zoom level. This changes use full zoom. And when you set that, we set this pref, browser zoom full. Okay. I think that's what we're missing here. Use full zoom. Because we're not observing changes to this preference. Do nspref changed. I think what we need to do, like, so what I think is happening here, just so we're clear, is that whenever we have a non-default zoom level, when you change this toggle, we're actually invoking something that causes the commands to be updated. We actually do enter here. So if I were to set this to the non-default level, hang on, and then change this, we do re-enter here. And that, I think, is changing the checked state. And that's happening down here. Like, we are gonna remove the checked state, right? And that's the part that we wanted. We want to update the commands even whenever we're at the default state, the default level, which means we need to know just whenever this preference. See, and now it's working. What the heck is going on? What is going on? Why is that working? This doesn't make any sense. Okay, now it's not working. And now I go over here. On, off, on, off. What is, I can't explain this. I cannot explain this. I'm starting to think this might be a Zool bug. Zoom in, zoom out. Oh, now it's working. Unbelievable. I am livid. I don't know what's happening here. So what I am going to do, though, because I think I can sort of paste over this issue, because like there's another issue, which I've realized, is that if I were to toggle this preference, it's true right now, and then I go to zoom text only, then it becomes false, becomes true again, Now, if I change the preference, that didn't get checked. So I can fix this issue by pasting over this, by fixing this other bug effectively. And I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to observe this other preference. Browser zoom full. Yeah, so we're already observing the branch. And so there'll be an observer here, browser zoom site specific. I'm going to say case browser zoom full. Update commands. That's going to be my suggested fix. So now, here, if I'm here and I say zoom text only, that fixes that issue. And it makes it so that if I change the preference, it's updated in the menu as well. Wait. Should be updated. Come on. I remove. Come on. Why isn't it? Son of a... All right, hold on a second here. Breakpoint. So... full zoom, we say that zoom manager, we are using full zoom, so we're saying checked to true. Okay, so checked should be true. Now I toggle this again. I'm entering here. I'm removing checked. Why is that still checked? Why? What is going on? Ah! Get element by ID. There's no checked attribute. Why? Okay. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give up on fixing this issue, and instead I'm gonna use the old mechanism for the checked state. I'm gonna keep this fix, but I don't want to get bogged down. I'll file this issue later, so I'm gonna take a to-do, file issue for the zoom text only menu item, sometimes going out of sync with the command. Because I really don't think there's any supposed to be any effort required in order to have those things be connected. Let menu item. So there's a bug here where, at least on Mac OS, it's a Zool issue, so it shouldn't matter which platform, where sometimes it seems that the command full zoom toggle won't update the checked state of toggle zoom automatically. Checked state of toggle zoom automatically. We work around this by manually setting that checked state. Okay. So there's an unsatisfying fix. But hey, I never said I was perfect. No one's perfect. Sorry, did I just hit a breakpoint? I did. No one's perfect, everybody. No one's perfect. Just trying to do our job here. Just trying to get her done. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, now we're gonna. I just realized there's another thing we need to update. Update state of Zoom menu items. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that as kind of an unsatisfactorily checked. And now we're gonna work on this, which is the. Oh, hold on. Write tests. I want to file a bug. Yeah, file an issue. I already have that. And then reference that bug number in the comment in Zoom in update commands. Okay. So the app menu styling, whenever we're at the default level. Currently disabled. I want to override that. So we have the toolbox open. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this mode called Disable Pop-Up Auto Hide. Very handy inside of the toolbox. It allows me to open up the panel and keep it open so it doesn't close automatically when I change focus, so I can inspect part of it, like this toolbar button. Zoom reset button, and you can see that because there's a lot of rules that are applied to it, and because it's disabled, well, hold on a second. The opacity is being set to 0.4 because toolbar item combined buttons is not toolbar overflowed items. Toolbar button 1 disabled. I basically want a special rule for the for this button in particular. So I'm going to put this in panel UI shared. Panel UI shared wherever Zoom controls are. App menu, Zoom controls. Here we go. Zoom controls, enlarge, Zoom reset. When the Zoom reset button is disabled, we don't want the Zoom level indicator to be so hard to read, so we'll override the disabled text style on it. So we override the disabled text style on it. Okay. So that's the ID. We'll say when that thing is disabled, opacity is 1. Okay. Let's close this panel. Let's remove that rule, restart, take a look. There we go. It's disabled, but still styled properly. Good. Good. Okay. Good shape. Good shape. We can now check that off. Let's write some tests. In the remaining time, we're making good headway here. Where's a good place? That's the first thing. When writing a test, where's it going to live? Are there pre-existing tests? So the way I'm going to hunt down any pre-existing tests, I'm going to look at methods first. Like, is there anything that uses full zoom in any of our browser Mochi tests? Browser Mochi tests are tests that exercise the browser UI. In tests, I'll notice tests always start with browser underscore. We got uses. Browser-based content test Zoom. We have a whole directory. That's amazing. So let's run this folder and make sure that all the tests pass. Still, mock test, browser-based content test Zoom. So we found an existing universe of tests. That's great. Which also means that maybe there are some nice test utilities we can take advantage of. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Let's see this run. Let's go here. Wow, pretty thorough. Still pass. Nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a brand new test. So browser base content test Zoom. And what am I going to call it? Is there existing site specific, mouse wheel, image zoom, default zoom, multi-tab? I'm going to add a new one called Zoom Commands. Mock. Here's a tip. You can add a new test this way. Mock add test. Browser base content test Zoom. Browser Zoom Commands. .js. Background zoom. Tooltip zoom. It's a tool. Oh. Tooltip zoom. Interesting. Make sure that tooltips zoom in properly. That's cool. All right. We're going to add a new test here. We're going to HG add it to make sure that we don't accidentally commit this without our test, and post it up for review. And then we'll add a description. This is what I like to do. Tests that Zoom commands are properly updated when changing zoom levels and or preferences. Okay, test zoom levels. Okay, start by what are there good? Oh, it's a full zoom helper, change default zoom, new zoom. That's great. This is what I want. All these nice helpers. Zoom test. How did some of these work? Create init default zoom, select tab, wait for location change. Get global value. Test set default zoom. Okay. Change default zoom. Okay, I'm gonna crib some of this stuff. First, test zoom levels. Creating the tab. Just call browser. Select tab and wait for location change tab. And then I do want to make sure that we start at the default zoom. You know what? Actually, I wonder if we could just crib. Well, no. Instead of intermingling tests, let's put them in and their own file. Creating tab, add tab, browser, full zoom, get assert equal. We expect to start at the default zoom level. Current zoom. And then what we'll do is we'll get the commands. What we might want to do is have a helper function called assert command state that takes like a description of the what are the names of the commands, just so that's easier to write this. So reduce, enlarge, reset, toggle. Okay. Assert command state. How do I want to do this? I want to make it so that it looks like this. State object, expected state. I want it to look like this. Assert command state. Enlarge, true, command enabled state. Enlarge, true. Hang on, assert command state. Maybe it'll look like this. Enabled. Checked. Disabled. I guess anything that's not in enabled, we will infer means disabled. So we could have like, which ones do we expect to be enabled? Enlarge, reduce, checked, none. Is that how I want this to look? There's got to be a better way of doing this, of describing, because like some of them we want them, there's like the checked state. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into two. Assert command enabled state. I'm going to say enlarge, true, reduce, true, reset, false. And then assert command checked state. What's the thing called? Full zoom. I guess by default false. And so we're going to say command enabled state and function assert command checked state. You know what? There's only one checked state one that we care about, so we'll just say assert full zoom command checked state is checked. To simplify, and these need documentation. Put that in later. And now let's write these out. So we need a mapping const command map. We're going to map enlarge to, what's the Actual command full zoom enlarge. Reduce. What is that? Reduce and reset. Reduce. Yes, I can construct the string, but I don't think that saves us much and is probably less readable. Okay, so then for let state or command key in expected state, let command ID equal command map command key, and then let command equal document get element by ID command ID, let expected enabled equals expected state command key. Assert. Let's see. If we expect it to be enabled, then there should not be the disabled attribute. So how do we express that? It's kind of like a flipping it around. It's like assert equal command has attribute disabled, not expected enabled. Command should have the expected enabled state. And let's JS prettier that. And let's just see if this runs. So browser zoom commands. Any chat to read? Yeah, people love intermittent problems. I myself especially. They're the best. All right, let's run this thing. Mock test browser zoom commands. Mock test browser base content test zoom browser zoom commands. If we can get this test written, everything up for review by the end of the stream, I think I'll be pretty happy. Let's go. Let's go. Failed. Found an unexpected tab. Oh, yeah, there's a better way of doing this. Await browser test utils with new tab. And then you pass it the URL, test page URL, and then you get that. And then we'll put all this in here. And then we actually don't need that, and we don't need that. We don't need that. This simplifies things a great deal. All right, let's run again. Simple, simple, simple. I like simple. Also hates it because this is not an async function right here. Right. If you're going to use await, make sure you're in an async function. What Mac are you using? Asks KingFu97. This is a MacBook Pro from 2019, I think. Let's see. 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro. Here's the data. I should probably get a new one. I think I'm due for a hardware upgrade. So, just FYI. Due for a hardware upgrade. So that worked properly. We're going to implement this one as well, which is to just get the let command equal document. Here, let's use the same variable name for consistency. Document get element by ID. Command full zoom toggle. Let menu item equal document get element by ID. Toggle zoom, because we're going to test both things. Assert okay, or assert equal command has attribute checked is checked. Command has checked attribute. Assert equal menu item has attribute checked is checked. Menu item has checked attribute. Full zoom toggle command. Full zoom toggle menu item. Alright, prettier, do your thing. We also want to refer to the bug. To do comment about the bug. Okay. Let us keep going. So changing the default zoom by a single level. Now max out the zoom level. Oh, we should expect reset to not be disabled. Yeah, and then we're going to max out the zoom level, which, what is the maximum? I think it's under view zoom overlay. There's like a maximum 500%. Okay. And so enlarge should be false. Reduce should be true. Reset should be true. Now min out the zoom level. What's the minimum? Forget already. 0.3. So what do I write here? Change default zoom to 30. And that should now reset back to the default zoom level. Zoom level 100, right? Zoom level 100. Current zoom get global value. Wait a second. Change default zoom. Why is this in like units of percentage and this one is not? Is that expected? Global value, get cache global. So it's getting like, okay, it gets that value, and then the change default zoom. Okay, so, all right, fair enough. We do some division. It's kind of funky, but alrighty. Change default zoom level back to 100%. That should be enlarge should be true. Reduce should be true. Reset should be false. All right, run it. Run it. Danny Cole asks, what do you do with your old work hardware? Sometimes I buy it. Sometimes I buy it, and I'll have like a personal machine be my old work machine, and that will be my opportunity to upgrade my personal machine. Full zoom toggle menu item has checked attribute. Assert. Should this be true by default? Assert full zoom checked state. What is the pref again? Toggle zoom. Toggle zoom. So use full zoom. It's browser zoom full. What is the default state of browser zoom full? It should be true. Should be true. Okay. Instead of text zoom. So I had this wrong. I have to go back here and say that these are all true by default. Alright, run it. Looks like my command enabled state's wrong here, or like the I'm failing that. I wonder what's going wrong. Oh wow. Alright, let's break this down. Let's comment some stuff out. What's going wrong? Let's just reduce the failures to a minimum here and try and piece together what's going wrong. Yeah, I buy my old hardware out of my pocket. And, you know, it's handy. I'm familiar with the machines. I know what they can do. Full zoom toggle has the checked attribute. So when we change the default zoom, are we not updating the commands? On zoom change, like updating zoom UI, updating commands. Oh, or do we have a race? Updating the commands. We might have a race. Some of this is asynchronous, where the commands are not like awaiting changing the updating the zoom UI, updating the commands. So then we expect to start as default zoom level, changing default zoom level by a single level, and then we update the zoom UI, and then update the commands. Yeah, we have a little bit of a race. Zoom level. That's interesting that the full zoom toggle command has the checked attribute. Maybe instead of having that be something that's called like maybe we should have on pop-up showing update the commands instead of doing it here. Except that that means that I have to simulate opening the menu, and we don't only have to worry about this menu. There's also the commands over here, right? Like, so that's no good. Okay. So one issue at a time. The first issue is that even at the very beginning, this full zoom toggle command does not have the expected checked value. So right at the very top, we expect this to be true, and it is not. I guess that's because full zoom toggle. But the menu item has the checked attribute. That's interesting. So full zoom toggle. Checked is false. That's another interesting thing. Is the menu item checked equals false supposed to like be meaningful? Because I thought it was just like the presence of the value as opposed to like a true or false string value. I'm going to test that right now because I'm curious. Reset. So let's get here. So presumably the checked value, document, element, by ID, toggle zoom. The checked value is set to false. Set attribute checked to true. Okay, so the true and false like string value actually matters here. That's interesting. Okay, so that's worth noting. It's not the presence of the checked attribute. We actually have to get the value. Checked. Command get attribute checked. I wonder if that's part of the issue. Because over here, under update commands, I'm removing the checked attribute. I wonder if I need to set that to false instead. Let's see if that fixes it. So maybe it wasn't a Zool bug. Maybe it was my bug. Okay. So far so good. And then if I update the pref, full zoom, browser, was it browser zoom full? So checked, full zoom, it's the checked again, revert. Okay, so still broken, Okay. Strange stuff. Okay, get attribute checked. And then we need like, if I coerce the Boolean plus true was, okay, I can coerce the Boolean into a string. Assert equal get attribute checked has checked attribute has correct expected checked attribute. Okay, let's run our commands again. Did you mean to set the attribute to false or to remove and set to false? I meant to just set it to false, not remove it. Why am I what am I doing here? Oh, yeah, I meant to set it to false. Good call. Good call, Smurf D. Good call. That's what I wanted to do. So maybe let's go back through this again. Checked, unchecked, checked, unchecked, about config, browser, zoom, full, unchecked, checked, still checked, son of a gun. Let's make sure that I didn't accidentally forget to build. Like, let's make sure that building something silly like forgetting to build is not the factor here. All right, I might be going a little long because I really want to get this test done. checked, unchecked, checked, unchecked, checked, unchecked. Hey, all right, it was building. That was the problem. Checked, unchecked. Hey, all right, so we don't have a bug here. We don't need this part. And we can get rid of this part as well. And then we'll write down what we just learned in here. This ended up not being an issue. This actually wasn't an issue. Hang on. Instead of checking that off, I'm going to strike through and say, this ended up not being an a bug with Zool, but a bug with the my implementation, which was assuming that the removal of the checked attribute was the equivalent of setting checked to false, when in actuality it's actually, when in actuality one must set it to the string value false. Okay, cool. So that feels good. Let's now run our tests. Hey, we all learned something today. Did I put some dump statements in here? Is that what I did? Oh yeah, because of the race. That's the next thing that we're gonna have to deal with. There's probably a race in updating the commands. Or like, we have to wait for the commands to be updated. Thank you, Smurf D, for noticing that. It's the silliest little thing, but that got me. I accidentally had remove attribute and thought that by passing a set... Yeah, I forgot to change the method name. Good call, Smurf D. Save my bacon. Full zoom toggle command did not have the expected checked attribute. False equals true. So expected it to be true, and it's actually false. Command full zoom toggle is false. And this is after we've updated the commands. So we are... Oh, yeah. So we expect it to be false. We expect it to be false. I just happened to be wrong before. I expect the full zoom command to be unchecked, because it should be the text zoom command checked state. What I'll say is like the zoom text full zoom, the text zoom command checked state should be false. And this one should also be false. I think we're getting there, people. Smurf D, how, like, you may have saved hours of effort with me, like filing a bug, having our Zool specialist like dig into what's going on. You may have saved our bacon here. Command should have the expected enabled state. Okay. So that's up here. Which command? We should put in the name of the command to make it easier. Command ID. And this might be the race. Yeah, because we update the Zoom UI after. Okay, so what we can do, this update commands is called by Zoom UI in here, update Zoom UI, browser animate. How do we wait for that? because this is asynchronous. Where's the awaiting happening in here? The awaiting happens... Where's the awaiting happening in here? Is this a... Why is this an async function? Oh, get global right here. I see. So the zoom change occurs. This happens. Default zoom. We update the commands. I don't want to poll if I don't need to. I guess I can use a mutation observer. How would that work? We observe our command elements, and then we await a mutation, a single mutation. Can we presume that this will all be in a single mutation observer transaction? Receive notifications. There's callback function and mutation record represents individual DOM mutations. The object is inside the past two mutation observers callback. A mutation record, does it contain... Okay, so we might get a whole series of these things though, right? Like the callback takes an input, an array describing each change that occurred. Callback the observer sees change in max configuration took place is detected. Okay, mutation observer transactions like DOM. What is the order? It will be queued. Safe and fair are in the order in which they happened. For each observer. And queue to the record queue. And when does this get flushed? It's initially empty. To the take records method steps are take records. Let's take records. Removes all pending notifications that the observer queue and returns them in an array. Oh, so we can like actually manually get them. That's nice. Detected not yet processed. Leaving the mutation queue empty. This is a common case for me and fetch all pending immediately prior to disconnecting so that any pending mutations can be processed when shutting down the observer. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. So what we can do is change our test. This is kind of annoying, but like async function await command enabled state. And then what we'll do is we will... Oh, we're also going to have to do it down here. So like let observer equals new mutation observer. How's this work again? New mutation observer callback. Callback. And then the attributes. So we're going to connect it to our target nodes. For let, we're actually going to do this. Command ID, command, and then we're going to observer.observe command, and then the attributes. True. And then what we'll do, let promise equals new promise resolve. Put all this inside it. We'll return new promise. So this doesn't need to be an async function then. Observe, we'll see the callback. The mutation observer takes a bunch of records, and for each of these, I think we can just end up getting like the full set of records. Let full records equal, we're going to concatenate these. So records, oh, that's weird. Can I do it within, yeah, observer.take records for let record of full records. Someone asked if this is a Mozilla t-shirt. Yes, it is. This is from an event I went to not long ago. A record of full records. And we're going to do our, what does the record look like? Mutation record has attribute name, attribute namespace. We need with a target, we want the target node. Let target equals record. Let command ID record.target.id. Now we have to do a reverse lookup. Man, do we actually? Let's remap the expectations. Actually, let's make it remap expectations. Const expectations equals remap for each. I want to basically convert it into having these be the keys, because this is really just to make it easier to read and not have like all the command gunk. It's kind of a, I'm having to jump through that hoop now. expectations. Let expectations equal for let, and we go through it. Observer expectations dot command ID equal expected state command key. And then let command ID equals record ID. Assert what we're going to do is we're going to start deleting items from expectations. Assert equal expectations dot command ID. Maybe this makes more sense. Command ID assert equal. So if that's true, then we expect that the attribute name assert equal record dot attribute name was checked, and then assert equal that the record dot attribute value just realizing they're not all gonna change. Really, you just need to make sure, you know what? You just need to wait for the first one. That's okay. I'm making this way too complicated. You just need to wait for the first one to change. I'm making this way too complicated. Let's put all this back. Mutation observer. What we're going to do is we're going to await the first change and then do all of our we're going to then start looking through the DOM, and they should all be updated. Observer, mutation observer, resolve. Okay, I think I know what I want to do. I think I know what except we don't know which one's going to mutate. So I guess we could watch for the command set, the main command set to change. Any children changing. Oh, what a pain in the butt. You know what might be simpler? Because simple is best. Simple is always best. So we fire a testing event to make it easier to know whenever the commands have been updated. Commands. Dispatch or new event, new custom event. Or is there a better event, whenever a command do Zool commands do anything special that I should know about. Zool commands. I can wait for the command event, command dispatcher, Zool command event. Zool command, Zool element, command event. I want to talk about the command element. Commands. Thanks, Zool Planet. Event. You hook up elements that would send a command event. I don't want to know when the command is fired. I want to know when the command changes. Is command supports command changes updates. All right. Dispatch. Do zoom enlarge by 10. Zoom commands updated. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dispatch a new event. Event equals new custom event. Zoom commands updated. And doesn't bubble, doesn't need a bubble. And then we're gonna dispatch it on the window. Okay, and then what we can do is cert command enabled state. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put that back. We're gonna just undo all these changes. We're gonna put it back, put it all the way it was. All back the way it was. Cert command enabled state. But we're going to change our full zoom helper here. Browser full zoom. The head. Change default zoom. We're going to make it set global. Let, is there like, I guess there's the implicit window. We don't care about window in here. Windows. Yeah, gbrowser. Okay, it's fine. Set global, handle completion, then resolve. Not quite. Await. We want to await all of them. Let completion equal new promise. Let commands updated equal browser test utils. Wait for event. The event is called zoom commands updated on the window. And then we're going to await promise.all commands updated completion. Wait a second. This does not look right. That's more like it. Let's see if that works. And if that works, I might call it there because you know, I'm going way over. This is a long session, and we're almost at. I got other things I need to do today. Oh, come on! Subject add event listener is not a function. Can I not wait for an event on the window? Is that not true? I feel like it's the sort of thing. Yeah. Subject add event listener is not a function. Did I use this wrong? Wait for event. Maybe it's supposed to be window then. Oh yeah, I got the order wrong. Got the order wrong, everybody. So if this passes, I'm calling it. I'm calling it right there. Come on. Big money. Big money. Big money. We did it, everybody. And you know what? It's simple. And that's what I like about it. Yes, it's another event, but it's simple. Instead of like waiting for like the commands to be updated and having to worry about that, now our tests can be very simple and can basically function the way we expected. I'll bet you, I'm hoping all of these now pass after I update this to be like this. False. False. And false. I expect this to all pass, and then we're going to call it right there. So what you just saw was like a real, like the real deal. Like the real... What is going on here? 88. Enlarge. Oh. Yeah. Sorry, my expectations are wrong here. False. This should all pass now. So yeah, what you saw there was like very real, which is like trying to find the right solution, a nice balance between like simplicity, readability, and reliability. And I kind of like meandered and Mr. Magoo'd around until I found like what I think is the right solution, which is let's just fire an event whenever the commands are updated, rather than like waiting for a side effect using a mutation observer or anything like that. It makes for very readable tests, and that's nice. It's basically like writing testable code. All right, so I'm gonna update my commit. And I'm gonna I'm gonna cap the stream there. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 291 of The Joy of Coding. Let me know what you thought by filling out the form. There's a rate this episode form. If you enjoyed this stream, go ahead and click that link in the agenda. I'll also put a link in the Twitch chat. There are links in all the same places where you see the agenda. Rate this episode. If you fill that out, I read everything that comes in. There's a section in there if you want to ask questions. I haven't had many questions come in, so if you have any questions that you want to ask me, go ahead, drop them in there. I'll try and answer them during the next stream. And thanks again for watching, and I hope you have yourselves a great day. So let me just switch back to the other screen. Have yourself a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.